Hello, this is Andrea for the Learning Bear Podcast, your resource for wild professional development. Today we're going to be doing a review of a book called I Love Dirt. Just a little background information about this book. It was written by Jennifer Ward. It also has an introduction section by Richard Louv, who has written numerous nature-based books. The book is broken into seasons. There are 52 total activities to take adults and their children outside. That's my son in the background. He's excited about it too. And the size of the book and the way it is made is perfect to put in your backpack to take outside, take on a trip. If you're a man and you have those big cargo pants, you could probably fit it in your pocket. So it's kind of made like a nature journal. It's got a stiff cardboard but soft backing cover. It's very well made. I like how it is made, especially for what the content is. So I dig it. So the first section is spring activities. And what I've done for each section is I've gone over some high points and low points of each one. And then I'll review at the end of overall what I think is great about this book and what isn't as great about this book. So the high points are that it contains lessons for both sunny and rainy days. You're going to hear me say it a lot throughout this review. Nature doesn't stop just because the weather outside isn't convenient. Just because it's raining doesn't mean nature stopped. There's new things going on because it's raining. So it's really awesome. I also like that there are many 21st century skills covered, specifically like comparison, description, analysis, those basic observational skills. I think that's really great to get your kids thinking about that already. I will say on the low side, it's pretty basic information. So if you're an avid nature person, you're already outside all the time, this stuff isn't really fit for you. This is meant for newbies or people that are actively trying to get themselves more outside and they're just not really sure where to start. So if you're any sort of scientist or teacher, a lot of this is going to be pretty basic for you. It is a good review if you want to review stuff, I will say that. But me as someone that's taught a lot of this information, it's just kind of like, well, that's common sense. But I can definitely see where it's not common sense for a lot of people that, they're new to it and they don't think about those things the way a scientist does. Moving on to summer activities, the high point here is that there are nighttime and daytime activities. Yet again, nature doesn't stop just because the sun went down. Sometimes it's just as active. There's plants that only bloom at night. There's animals that are only out at night. So I appreciate that. And she talks about the sun, the moon, and the stars, which is really cool too. I like that she talks about dirt in these lessons. I do wish that she went in a little bit more detail or a little more in depth, if you will, because I think it's pretty basic. And I think we take dirt for granted a lot of times. But again, this is a newbie, beginner sort of situation. So maybe you can't go into that. I don't know. I don't know how much, like if this stuff was tested. I don't know. And it doesn't really say either. So I also like that there's rainy day activities in the summer, which is good. There's also post-rain activities, which I think is also really cool. I think this is great, especially for states that are in sort of tropical areas. There's some parts of the United States that have rain like every day at 1 o'clock for like 5 minutes. So these sorts of activities would be perfect for that. Now, there's some places where they have a complete drought during the summer, and these are not necessarily appropriate, but they could be really special activities if there's a drought or a long period of time without rain, and then you get rain, and then you can run outside and be like, we've been waiting to do this activity. So that would be really great. There are some activities about feeding birds. I don't really subscribe to that sort of thing. This is probably just my personal opinion and other books that I've read. Feeding animals is a bad habit to get into because they start to rely on you to feed them. And they need to have their natural instincts to find food for them because you're not always going to be there to feed them every single day. This goes for feeding ducks bread or geese or squirrels or whatever. If you do decide to feed birds, which is fine, it's your own choice, you can do what you want, just don't do it regularly. Do it sparingly, do it randomly. so that they don't come to rely on you. If you go out there at the same time every single day, then they're going to be like, oh, this guy's going to come feed us every single day, or this lady, whoever. So if you do it randomly. Don't do it so much that they rely on you, because then they're going to start losing their natural instincts, and I have a problem with that. And so do other people. Now we're into fall activities. This is kind of just a continuation of the spring and summer activities. There are activities about wind and gravity, which I think is awesome. I totally give her props for having well-rounded, thorough activities, even if they are kind of commonsensical to me. I have to pull myself back and realize that not everybody has done as much reading as I have. Not everybody has taught all this stuff. So I really like that she talks about wind. She has several activities about wind. She has several activities about gravity, and fall is a perfect time to talk about gravity, obviously, with leaves falling. Along with the bird feeding, there's this activity about pill bugs and having them race in a circle and whatever. I know that pill bugs are harmless, and they're probably a dime per dozen depending where you are, but again, I have a problem kind of with messing with wildlife. You can observe pill bugs in their natural state without messing with them. I know that it's fun to race pill bugs, I guess. I don't know. I've never done it. But to me, it's just better to let nature do its own thing. They don't come into our house and roll us into a ball and have us race in circles. So let's just let the pill bugs be. Okay, they are fun. They're cool. If you want to lightly poke them carefully to make them turn into a ball, I don't think there's too much harm in that. But I think playing a game with them is a problem, and you're probably going to end up killing them, because kids don't understand all the time about being gentle, especially when they're excited. So I'm a little skeptical about that activity, but I do really like the bulk of the activities in the fall section. I think they're really, really good. I like them a lot. Okay, rounding it out, winter activities. There's a lot of snow activities. It's just kind of like in a continuation, just like with the fall. So I don't have a lot to say necessarily, but I do really like the winter garden lesson. I think that's awesome, and I love that she recommends talking to your local experts. Because honestly, in any sort of gardening or landscaping opportunity, you should be talking to your local people so they can tell you this is native, this isn't. If you have this is invasive, so on and so forth. People that are passionate about plants will talk to you all day long, myself included. Now, I don't know native plants everywhere, but I do know what the invasives are, or some of them are. So if you can tap into like a master gardener collective in your area, or some sort of local gardening expert, or even like around here we have the Airly Gardens, and there's people that know their business about gardens around here, let me tell you. They would be able to help with that. And naturally, another reason for talking to your local people is because everybody lives in a different climate zone. And so what works for me in North Carolina is probably not going to work for somebody in Montana or Washington or wherever. So I love that she does bring you to your community and to where that knowledge is. So that's really great. Low points, again, skeptical about bird feeding. It's just not for me. I don't necessarily agree with it, but if you do it, just do it randomly so the birds don't rely on you. And please don't feed them bread, because it's really bad for them. It makes them fat, and there's zero nutritional content for them. So please don't feed them bread. Now, some activities, there's a significant number of activities that are they require snow, and most places don't have snow. Okay, so some of those are going to be a little bit tricky, and so a large part of that section isn't going to qualify for a lot of people, and that's kind of a bummer. Hopefully people will be like, well, we didn't do these activities for fall or spring or summer, we can do these now. So hopefully people will think of that when they're doing the book. But I like that she has snow activities. It's not realistic for a lot of the country is all. Some people have never even seen snow, which is crazy to me. So just something to think about. All right, so to wrap up, these are my overall notes over the book. I love dirt. High points, it's very thorough. Like I've mentioned many times, it's basic, it's easy. You can pull it out as a moment's notice out of your backpack because it's a perfect size, shape, weight, the whole gambit. I really like that she doesn't stop making activities when the weather's not perfect. Nature is cold sometimes. Sometimes it's wet. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes it's muddy. She covers all that. She talks about wind. She talks about gravity. I love how thorough and well-rounded it is. I do think that the wildlife feeding is unnecessary. I think you can enjoy wildlife without feeding them. Most of the book is observational, which I think is kind of a bummer. It does teach kids, patience to listen and to watch. So that in that way, it's good. I think I just like to play games. So that's probably why I have kind of an issue with that. Mostly being observational. I want to turn everything into a game. The only real serious low point that I would like to see changed is at the end of each of her activities, she notes what that activity is going to be stimulating. And I think it would be really helpful if that information was at the beginning of the activity. So as you're flipping through and you're trying to decide which activity you're going to do, you're like, well, we haven't hit on this skill for a while. Maybe we should do that one. It would be a lot easier to do without a lot of extra page turning if those skills and those notes were at the beginning of the activity. That's the only serious thing that I would note. Most of this is just, this whole thing is opinion. Let's be honest. But as an environmental educator, I don't agree with wildlife feeding. I do wish there were more games, but I understand the limitations of the book. But I do think the skills at the beginning would be really helpful for more people than just me. So overall, really good book, really easy, basic, interesting information, well-rounded, really, really good, especially if you're a beginner in nature. So to wrap up, even with some of my low points that I've noted, I want to be fair. I don't think that my low points are going to be a low point for most people. So I want to just say that I gave them a perfect score because I'm trying to be fair, even though I kind of knocked her on some things. I think it's a really good book overall. The content is really great. It's well-rounded. It's thorough. I've said that 1,000 times. The structure is great. It's easy to understand. It's broken up into seasons. Each season has a heading that tells you what you're in for. I like that. I think it totally meets the goals of helping you and your kids discover the wonders of nature. I think it does that without question. If you're even remotely looking at this book and doing the activities, you're going to hit that goal probably within that first activity. And I think for the most part, it's pretty creative. I didn't read every single activity word for word, but the activities that I did read, which was most of them, they're thoughtful. They have really good discussion questions. Like I mentioned, I really like that there's dirt, there's mud, there's wind, there's rain, there's snow, there's whatever. She's very thoughtful and encompassing an entire environment. And I think that's really good for any environmental education curriculum or book or whatever. It needs to be all encompassing and holistic. And I like that. So I give this book 100%. You should definitely check it out. If you're a beginner or not, or if you're trying to get back into nature, you've kind of, been on a sabbatical, whatever. If you're just trying to introduce little kindergartners or preschoolers or first graders, this would be an excellent book for that because it doesn't, there's not a lot of coordination involved. Playing games with very little kids is kind of like herding cats and it can be kind of painful. So this book would be perfect for that age group. Your older kids, maybe not so much. But if you paired it with a nature journal with your older kids and they could write down their thoughts and journal and draw and sketch, I think that would be excellent. So definitely check it out. It's called I Love Dirt, 52 Activities to Help You and Your Kids Discover the Wonders of Nature. It's by Jennifer Ward and with a foreword by Richard Louv, who wrote The Last Child in the Woods. And there's some illustrations by Susie Garamani. I probably just butchered her name, but check it out. That's going to do it for us today at Learning Bear Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. Check out my other stuff, my other reviews. I will have some more book reviews coming up. Have a great day, and I will catch you next time. Bye.